Just as Slovakia takes over the leadership in the V4 after July 1st, 2026, I would like to emphasize that we will be extremely active and we will do everything to ensure that the V4 once again gains the strength it used to have in the past, the strength it relied on in the ability of the four member states of the European Union to create independent positions and positions that were able to move the internal life of Brussels. I can say that after the senseless ideological decision of the European Commission to accept the E-Power EU and stop the flows of Russian gas after January 1st, 2028, the Czech Republic will be an exceptionally important transit point for us on the territory of the Slovak Republic. For this reason, I have appointed the Prime Minister, and I have highlighted two important projects that concern gas, and I believe that the ministers present will be able to focus on this topic at the joint meeting of the governments that I have already announced. I have informed the Prime Minister about the transport projects, whether we are fulfilling our commitments within the scope of the opportunities we have. Mr. Prime Minister Fico, from your point of view, you speak of war cabinets, so have you clarified which project seems to be war or peace? And Mr. Prime Minister Babis, are you preparing to go to Ukraine in the Brest period, as your foreign minister, Mr. Makinka, is preparing to do? A question for you, Mr. Prime Minister Fico. Are you also preparing to go to Kiev with diplomats, for example, when we withdraw from your meetings in Uzhhorod? Thank you. Well, I don't remember talking about the peace initiative. Of course, I took part in the meeting in order to find out what it was about. It was represented at a high level. There were mainly American negotiators, Kushner and Witkow, and of course there was a declaration, and if you would like to call it that, they are willing to send soldiers to Ukraine, but only two of them, and that is Macron and Starmer, and they also signed the protocol. So, it was an open debate. It was a protocol designed for some kind of arrangement within Ukraine after the ceasefire, but we did not know when the ceasefire would take place and what the outlook would be. So, I was happy to be there because, of course, I spoke with Mark Rutte, and I met European statesmen and so on. So, it is an experience. For example, Drakowska is there as an observer, and other states are not completely involved in it. But most of the states have commented on the protocol with excuses that they need a parliamentary agreement, but most states refuse to send soldiers to Ukraine. France, the UK, and Zelensky signed the protocol, and of course the key role is that of President Trump. Without him, in short, it will not work. There was even a prime minister, Eddie Rom, a legendary prime minister, who asked himself, why Europe? It does not matter to Putin, because it is one Europe, Zelensky, America, Russia. So, I was there to see what it was all about. But it was not the subject of our discussion, because there are much more important things to discuss. I repeat our position 100 times. For the first time, Slovakia has never sent a single soldier to Ukraine to the international military forces that are supposed to act on the territory of Ukraine. Did they seize the opportunity? Did they? There is a statement that says that every foreign soldier on the territory of Ukraine will be a legitimate target in this war. So, we are going to call the Red Army with the Russian Federation, and we are going to really solve the problem. Slovakia will never donate any weapons to Ukraine. The previous government donated so many weapons that it practically exhausted the entire arsenal of the army of the Slovak Republic, and today we have to renew it for expensive money. So, no weapons. The only thing I can imagine is that the Slovak Republic can participate as a neighboring country with Ukraine in monitoring the ceasefire or some peace agreements. But, again, I will use the right of free speech. I am convinced that in peace talks, they are honestly throwing food. Honestly. And it is not a sincere desire to end this conflict as soon as possible. All the steps that are being taken point out that the conflict will continue for many months in Ukraine at the cost of huge human losses. If for someone the Russian or Ukrainian life is nothing, for me, the Russian and Ukrainian life have the same value as the life of a French, American, Italian, Slovak, Spanish, German, or any other soldier. Therefore, it is not a good news for me if someone says that 5,000 people were injured or killed on one side of this war conflict. Mr. Editor, I had a meeting with the President of Ukraine, where two different worlds met. So far, President Zelensky has not understood why the Slovak Republic did not agree to Ukraine's membership in NATO. I explained to him that this is not our decision. The Americans have solved the problem of Ukraine's membership in NATO by saying that Ukraine will not be a member of NATO. We claim that the fact that Ukraine will not be a member state of NATO is the basic premise of any peace talks after the end of this war conflict. On the other hand, I appreciate that I have come to terms with President Zelensky about the important bilateral issues of the Slovak-Ukrainian relations. Therefore, I prefer a mutually beneficial bilateral relationship with Ukraine. If I were to go to Paris, I would have to repeat the same thing. No soldier, no weapon, no military position. I want to hear the word peace. The only thing we are prepared for is a monitoring mission. Because we are close in language, we get to know each other. You know, Mr. Editor-in-Chief, during the first hours of the crisis, our people did not only open their arms to Slovakia, our people also opened their hearts to their homes. They were accommodating Ukrainians, giving them food. A huge number of Ukrainians are now working in Slovakia and living under the full protection of the Slovak Republic. If I were to divide the aid to the HDP, we are among the countries with the greatest aid to Ukraine. But again, I am convinced that what is happening at the moment does not lead to peace. Is it an extension of the conflict? Because someone still believes in a strategy that is wrong and evil, that through the extension of the war, with constant financial, political, and I don't know what support from Ukraine, will lead to the weakening of the Russian Federation. This strategy is wrong. It is wrong, and only 100,000 dead people will know about it. I have signed an agreement with you that this is how we will stand here in December. The only difference will be that the Russians will go further, and there will be 500,000 dead. What have we achieved with that? For whom is it all good? So I have a fundamentally different view of the war on Ukraine. I take advantage of the fact that I am the Prime Minister for many years. As you can hear, I speak openly everywhere, and I have never hidden behind my posts. I will speak wherever I can. That's about it when it comes to the war conflict. And my view of what is a war cabinet and what is not a war cabinet. We are very mistaken if we think that through the war on Ukraine, the biggest victim of this war is Ukraine. Someone will get a loan from the Russian Federation. That is the biggest mistake. And unfortunately, Ukrainians will pay for this mistake. But of course, on the other hand, there are a lot of people involved in this conflict. It is a huge loss, a huge mistake.